The cold here is a different kind. It's not the sharp, clean cold of a Bologna winter. This is a wet, invasive cold that seeps through the wool of your greatcoat, through your skin, and settles deep in your bones. It lives in the mud that sucks at your boots with every step, and in the perpetual gray mist that clings to the olive groves, turning them into a spectral forest. The mountains above Cassino watch us, silent and judgmental. Sometimes I think the land itself hates us all. Germans, Americans, British, and us, especially us, fighting ourselves. Before this, my world was one of paved streets, case files, and the predictable rhythm of a city watch. I was Marco Bianchi, brigadier in the Polizia di Stato. My beat was Bologna. I knew its alleys like the lines on my own hand. I understood its people, their grievances, their loyalties, their petty crimes. My job was to enforce the law, to be the barrier between society and the chaos that always lurked at its edges. Order was not a concept. It was a physical thing, something you maintained with a steady hand, a sharp eye, and an unwavering belief in the rules. Then the world broke, the armistice. The king and Badoglio fled south like thieves in the night, leaving the back door open for the Allies and chaos to flood in. Betrayal, tradimento, that single word burned hotter than any furnace. For me, for the men of the Guardia Nazionale Repubblicana, the path was clear. Mussolini was freed, the Republic was formed. The honor of Italy had to be salvaged from the ruins. So I traded my police uniform for this gray-green wool. I traded my baton for a Carcano rifle. My beat was no longer a city. It was this unforgiving line of rock and mud. And the criminals were no longer simple thieves or thugs. They were partisans, banditi, traitors who sought to aid the invaders and turn Italy into a rabble. Our patrol moved through the skeletal trees, 10 of us. A mix of my GNR comrades, their black shirts under their coats, and a few grim paratroopers from the Folgore, men carved from granite. I respected the Folgore. They were soldiers, pure and simple. We of the GNR, we were something else. We were the true believers, the enforcers of the new faith. Our German liaison, Hauptmann Richter, moved with a stiff, arrogant confidence that grated on me, but his intelligence was usually sound. He had a map, and on that map was a farmhouse circled in red pencil. A hornet's nest, he'd called it, a partisan command post. As a policeman, you learn to read a scene before you enter it. You look for the signs, the things that are out of place. This farmhouse felt wrong from 100 meters away. No smoke from the chimney on a morning this cold, no dog barking. The path to the well was too trodden for a simple family, the mud churned by heavy boots, not the worn shoes of a farmer. I pointed this out to Lieutenant Valli, my GNR commander. He just grunted, his eyes fixed on the stone building with a predator's hunger. Valli saw the world in black and white. You were either loyal or you were a corpse waiting to happen. My senses were screaming. It was the same feeling I'd get before a raid on a counterfeiting den in Bologna. The quiet was too loud. The air was thick with waiting. I could smell the damp earth, the rot of fallen leaves, and something else, the faint, acrid scent of stale tobacco and unwashed bodies. They were in there, waiting. The Folgore took the lead, moving with a fluid economy I envied. We fanned out, my Carcano feeling slick and cold in my sweating palms. The world shrank to the stone walls of that house, the dark, unblinking windows like empty eye sockets. Valli gave the signal. The crack of the first rifle shot shattered the morning. It was followed by the brutal, hammering stutter of a German MG-42, a sound like ripping canvas that tore through the stone and wood. Shouts. The splintering of a door. A woman's scream cut short. We poured in after the paratroopers. The fight was short, ugly, and intimate. It was a chaotic mess of overturned furniture, scattered papers, and the metallic smell of fresh blood. A young man, no older than 20, lunged at me with a farmer's scythe. His face was a mask of terror and defiance. There was no time to think, no procedure to follow. I brought my rifle butt up, a practiced motion from 1,000 street brawls, and felt the sickening crunch as it connected with his jaw. He fell, a puppet with its strings cut. In minutes, it was over. We dragged them out into the pale, watery sunlight. 7 of them. 3 were dead. The other 4 were on their knees in the mud, hands bound behind their backs. 2 men, wiry and hard-faced. A woman with fire in her eyes, spitting curses at us. And another man, older, his face bruised and bleeding from a cut above his eye. Hauptmann Richter strode over, his jackboots crunching on the gravel. He didn't even glance at the prisoners. He looked at Valli. "No prisoners," he said, his Italian clipped and precise. "They are terrorists. The Führer's orders are clear. We have no room, and we need to send a message." Lieutenant Valli nodded, a grim smile on his lips. "A message will be sent." He turned to us. You heard the Hauptmann. This filth has poisoned our soil for long enough. This was the part of the job I hated. Interrogation, yes, a quick fight if necessary, but this was sanitation. It felt less like police work and more like extermination. Still, it was the law. It was the new order. The chaos they represented had to be cauterized, burned out. It was my duty. Valley gestured to me. Bianchi, you have a steady hand. You and Russo take the two on the right. We'll handle the others. I nodded, my face a stoic mask I'd perfected over years. I chambered around, the metallic click echoing in the sudden silence. I walked towards the two condemned men, my boots heavy as lead. My job was to maintain order. This was the ultimate expression of that order, the removal of those who would destroy it. I raised my rifle. I looked at the first man, the one with the bruised face. I needed to see his eyes. A cop always looks a man in the eyes. It's where you see the truth, the fear, the soul. And then my world stopped. The blood drained from my face. My breath caught in my throat like a shard of ice. The rifle suddenly weighed 1,000 kilos. My rigid discipline, the wall I had built around myself brick by brick, crumbled into dust. It was Ricardo Morti. From Bologna, not just from Bologna, from my precinct. He was 2 years my junior, a good kid, eager to learn. I had trained him. I had taught him how to handle a crowd, how to write a report, how to spot a liar. I remembered sharing cigarettes with him on the late watch, complaining about our superiors. I remembered him showing me a picture of his newborn daughter, his chest puffed with pride. Ricardo, here. On his knees in the mud, his hands bound, his face a mask of weary defiance. My mind reeled. Ricardo, a partisan, a traitor. It was impossible. He was a policeman. He believed in the law, in the state. How could he be here with these criminals? My entire worldview fractured. The neat lines I had drawn between order and chaos, between loyalist and traitor, between us and them, they all dissolved into a meaningless, gray blur. He wasn't a nameless bandit. He was Ricardo, a colleague, a friend. He looked up and our eyes met. For a split second there was a flash of recognition in his, not of fear, but of a terrible, profound sorrow, as if he was pitying me. Then it was gone, replaced by a quiet dignity that was more damning than any curse. "Do it, Marco," Valley barked, his voice jolting me back to the cold mud. "What are you waiting for?" The others were raising their rifles. The world narrowed to the front sight of my Carcano, the V-notch in Ricardo's face. I saw him not as a partisan, but as the young officer I once knew, standing on a street corner in Bologna. This act wasn't restoring order. This was madness. This was the very anarchy I had sworn to fight against. We weren't saving Italy. We were murdering it. We were murdering each other. The policeman in me screamed. The soldier was silent. The man was already dead. My finger, a traitor to my soul, tightened on the trigger. The shots rang out, a ragged volley that echoed off the silent hills. Ricardo's body jerked and fell forward, joining the others in the mud. For a moment there was only the ringing in my ears and the smell of cordite. Valley slapped my back. "Good work, Bianchi. That's how you deal with traitors, clean, efficient." I said nothing. I couldn't speak. I lowered my rifle, the barrel smoking. I looked down at what I had done. I had followed my orders. I had performed my duty. I had helped restore order. But as I stared at the body of the man I once called brother, I knew with a chilling certainty that I had just committed the greatest crime of my life. I had become the chaos. We left them there, a message for the others. As we marched back through the gray mist, I felt nothing. The cold in my bones was no longer from the weather. It was a permanent frost that had settled around my heart. I came to this war to keep my world from falling apart, but in that muddy farmyard, I was the one who pulled the final, critical stone from its foundation. I was still a policeman. But my beat was now hell, and I was just another one of its keepers. These memories are heavy, but they must be shared. Subscribe to ensure these stories are never forgotten.